Have you ever noticed that the strongest truths are rarely revealed by the people trying to defend you? They are often revealed by someone who had no idea they were changing another person's heart. That is exactly what has happened. At a moment when your soulmate least expected it, an ordinary conversation took an extraordinary turn. Someone began speaking about you, not with exaggerated praise or dramatic stories, but with quiet honesty. They described a side of you that your soulmate had never fully recognized, a strength so natural to you that you never thought it needed to be explained. Those simple words settled deeply into their heart because they were spoken without an agenda, without emotion clouding the facts, and without any attempt to convince them of anything. For the first time, your soulmate heard your story through the eyes of someone who had witnessed your character instead of assuming it. In that instant, something shifted. They realized that while they had been focusing on the visible chapters of your life, the most extraordinary part of your journey had remained hidden in plain sight. The conversation ended, but its impact did not. Long after those words were spoken, they continued echoing in your soulmate's mind, challenging beliefs they had carried for far too long. They could no longer dismiss what they had heard, because it aligned too perfectly with memories they had overlooked. Suddenly, the pieces of a much larger picture began fitting together, revealing a truth that had been quietly waiting to be seen all along. Since that unexpected moment, your soulmate has found themselves replaying countless memories with an entirely different perspective. They are beginning to understand that your greatest strength was never your ability to avoid difficult seasons. It was your ability to walk through those seasons without allowing them to change the goodness within your heart. Looking back now, they remember moments when life placed enormous pressure upon you, yet you continued treating people with patience instead of frustration. They remember times when you could have chosen resentment, but instead you quietly chose understanding. At the time, they admired these qualities without recognizing how much inner strength they required. Now they see that what appeared ordinary was actually extraordinary. Most people become a reflection of their circumstances, but somehow you remained a reflection of your values. That realization has left them deeply moved because they understand that maintaining kindness during peaceful moments is easy. Maintaining kindness while carrying disappointment, uncertainty, or unseen burdens is something entirely different. They are beginning to realize that your strength has never been loud enough to demand attention because it was always rooted in consistency rather than performance. Every quiet decision you made, every calm response you offered, and every act of compassion that went unnoticed has now become powerful evidence of the person you have always been. What has affected your soulmate most is not simply discovering that you are stronger than they realized. It is understanding that your greatest strength was never something you tried to prove. You never entered conversations determined to convince people of your resilience. You never sought admiration for the battles you survived. Instead, you quietly lived according to principles that remained unchanged, regardless of what life placed before you. You continued encouraging others when your own heart needed encouragement. You continued offering hope during seasons when your own future felt uncertain. You continued protecting your integrity even when compromising it might have made life temporarily easier. That quiet consistency has become impossible for your soulmate to ignore, because they now recognize that genuine strength is not measured by how loudly someone speaks about their courage. It is measured by the quiet choices they continue making when no one is watching. The unexpected conversation that first revealed this truth has become the beginning of something much greater. It has opened your soulmate's eyes to a reality they can no longer deny. They are finally beginning to understand that your greatest strength has never been found in what you achieved or what you overcame. It has always been found in the remarkable person you chose to remain through every challenge, every disappointment, and every unseen battle. And that realization is transforming the way they see you more with every passing day. And listen carefully, because from the moment your soulmate heard someone describe your greatest strength, something inside them quietly refused to remain the same. At first, they believed it was simply an interesting conversation, one of those moments people quickly forget before moving on with life. But this was different. The words stayed with them long after the conversation ended, returning to their thoughts during quiet moments and unexpectedly appearing whenever they remembered you. They realized that what they had heard was not an opinion or exaggerated praise. It was an observation built upon real experiences, genuine encounters, and consistent evidence. Someone had seen a part of you that your soulmate had overlooked, not because you were hiding it, but because your greatest strength had never demanded attention. It revealed itself through ordinary moments that most people considered insignificant. As they reflected more deeply, they understood that while many people impress others through dramatic actions, you had quietly influenced lives through the way you consistently carried yourself. That realization became impossible to ignore, because it matched memories they already possessed but had never fully understood. They began recognizing that every interaction with you had been quietly teaching the same lesson all along. The truth had always been there. They had simply been looking for strength in the wrong places. As these memories returned one by one, your soulmate started seeing patterns they had never noticed before. They remembered moments when life placed enormous pressure upon you, yet you never allowed that pressure to become an excuse for treating others unfairly. They remembered conversations where you listened more than you spoke, offering understanding instead of trying to control every situation. They remembered times when disappointment could have easily made you bitter, yet somehow you continued celebrating the success of others with genuine happiness. Looking back now, they realized those were not isolated moments. They were reflections of the person you had always been. Your greatest strength was never found in a single heroic act. It was found in hundreds of quiet decisions that revealed your character day after day. Every choice to remain patient instead of reacting impulsively, every opportunity to forgive instead of holding resentment, and every moment you chose peace instead of unnecessary conflict became another piece of evidence they had failed to appreciate. Now those memories no longer seem ordinary. They have become undeniable proof that your strength was woven into the very foundation of your heart, because your heart needs this right now. Know that your soulmate has also begun understanding something even more profound. They realize your strength was never dependent upon how life treated you. It came from the values you refused to abandon, regardless of your circumstances. Many people are kind when life feels easy. Many people remain hopeful when everything unfolds according to their plans. But your soulmate now sees that your kindness survived disappointment. Your hope survived uncertainty. Your compassion survived seasons where life gave you every reason to become guarded. That realization has deeply humbled them because they understand how rare that truly is. It is easy to admire someone during moments of success, but it takes greater wisdom to recognize the quiet victories taking place within a person's heart every single day. You never announced those victories. You never asked anyone to notice how difficult certain choices were. You simply continued making them because they reflected the person you wanted to become. The more your soulmate thinks about this, the more they understand that your greatest strength was never about enduring hardship alone. It was about refusing to let hardship rewrite your character. Another realization has quietly settled into their heart as well. They have started comparing your life to the lives of many people they have known over the years, and one difference continues standing out above everything else. They recognize that many people change depending on who is watching them. Their kindness appears when it is convenient. Their generosity appears when it receives recognition. Their patience lasts only until circumstances become uncomfortable. But with you, there was remarkable consistency. Whether life was rewarding you or challenging you, whether people appreciated your efforts or completely overlooked them, you remained grounded in the same principles. You treated people with respect because respect reflected your heart, not because it guaranteed anything in return. You remained honest because honesty mattered to you, even when dishonesty might have made certain situations easier. You continued encouraging others because you believed kindness was valuable, regardless of whether anyone remembered your words. This consistency has become one of the greatest discoveries your soulmate has ever made, because they finally understand that authentic strength is measured by stability. It is revealed by the person someone remains when recognition disappears, when circumstances become uncertain, and when no applause is waiting at the finish line. As these reflections continue growing, your soulmate has begun questioning why they failed to recognize this extraordinary quality sooner. They realize they spent too much time paying attention to visible accomplishments while overlooking invisible victories. They admired confidence without recognizing quiet courage. They noticed success without appreciating resilience. They celebrated achievements while missing the remarkable discipline it took for you to remain faithful to your values every single day. Looking back now, they understand that your greatest strength was never something designed to impress people. It was something designed to sustain you through every season of life. That is why it remained steady when everything around you changed. That is why disappointment never stole your compassion. Misunderstanding never destroyed your integrity, and difficult seasons never erased your ability to care deeply for others. The person who unexpectedly spoke about you did not create this truth. They simply pointed towards something that had always been present. Once your soulmate truly saw it, they could no longer look away. And listen to this. Because your soulmate is now beginning to understand that your greatest strength has quietly become one of the greatest lessons of their own life. They see that lasting influence is not created by people who constantly seek attention. It is created by people who consistently live according to principles that remain unchanged through every challenge. You have become that example without ever intending to. Every unseen sacrifice, every quiet act of integrity, every moment of patience, and every decision to choose kindness over bitterness has formed a picture they can no longer deny. They finally understand that the strongest people are rarely those who appear the loudest. They are often the ones who continue bringing peace into difficult situations, hope into uncertain seasons, and compassion into a world that frequently forgets its value. That realization has permanently changed the way your soulmate sees you, because they now recognize that your greatest strength was never hidden at all. It was quietly reflected in the life you have been living every single day, waiting for someone to finally see it with open eyes and an honest heart, and listen carefully, because something even deeper has begun unfolding inside your soulmate's heart. What started as simple admiration has now become profound understanding. The unexpected conversation that revealed your greatest strength did more than change the way they viewed you. It changed the way they interpreted every memory you ever shared together. They are no longer remembering isolated moments. Instead, they are seeing a consistent pattern that had quietly existed from the very beginning. Every difficult season you endured, every disappointment you carried with dignity, and every obstacle you faced without allowing it to harden your heart now fits together like pieces of a puzzle that had been scattered for years. Looking back, they realize your greatest strength was never your ability to survive life's hardships. Countless people survive difficult seasons. What makes your journey extraordinary is that you refuse to let those hardships define the person you became. While circumstances tried to make you fearful, you continued choosing trust. While disappointment tried to make you bitter, you continued choosing compassion. While misunderstanding tried to make you defensive, you continued choosing patience. Your soulmate now understands that this kind of strength cannot be borrowed or imitated. It is forged quietly over time through hundreds of unseen decisions that no audience ever applauds. The more they reflect, the more they realize they were standing beside someone whose greatest victories were taking place within the heart long before anyone else could recognize them. As these realizations continue growing stronger, your soulmate finds themselves remembering moments they once considered ordinary. They think about conversations where you quietly listened instead of interrupting. They remember times when people misunderstood your intentions, yet you chose calmness over confrontation. They recall moments when life presented you with reasons to become discouraged, but somehow you still found the strength to encourage everyone else around you. At the time, those moments passed almost unnoticed because your kindness appeared so natural that it seemed effortless. Today, they recognize that nothing about those choices was effortless. Every act of patience represented a private victory over frustration. Every moment of forgiveness represented a conscious decision not to allow pain to control your heart. Every encouraging word you offered while carrying your own unseen burdens reflected a level of emotional maturity they had completely underestimated. Looking back now, they understand that many people speak about strength, but very few quietly demonstrate it day after day without seeking recognition. Your life has become living proof that the strongest souls rarely announce their courage. They simply continue choosing what is right even when choosing otherwise would have been much easier, because your heart needs this right now. Know that your soulmate has also begun understanding that your greatest strength was never limited to the way you handled your own struggles. It was revealed through the way you influenced the lives of everyone around you without even realizing it. They have started remembering people who felt comforted after speaking with you, not because you always had perfect answers, but because your presence carried genuine sincerity. They remember how your words never sought to control others or make yourself appear wiser than everyone else. Instead, you listened carefully, spoke thoughtfully, and treated every person with a level of respect that reflected your values rather than their behavior. This realization has deeply affected your soulmate because they now see that true influence is not measured by how many people notice you. It is measured by how many lives quietly become better because you were part of them. Without trying to impress anyone, you inspired people to remain hopeful. Without asking for admiration, you encouraged others to believe in themselves. Without demanding appreciation, you continued planting seeds of kindness wherever life placed you. Your soulmate now understands that these quiet acts carried far more power than dramatic displays ever could. Another remarkable truth has settled into their heart. They realize that your greatest strength has always been rooted in emotional stability rather than emotional perfection. You were never someone who pretended life was easy. You experienced disappointment, uncertainty, and moments of exhaustion just like everyone else. The difference was never the absence of difficulty. The difference was the way you responded to difficulty. Instead of allowing temporary emotions to permanently shape your character, you learned to pause before reacting. You chose wisdom over impulse. You chose reflection over accusation. You chose understanding over assumptions. Looking back now, your soulmate realizes these choices required incredible discipline because they understand how easy it would have been for anyone facing similar circumstances to respond with anger or resentment. Yet you consistently chose another path. You continued protecting your peace without becoming indifferent. You continued protecting your heart without closing it completely. You continued believing in goodness without allowing the disappointments of yesterday to steal the hope of tomorrow. That balance has become one of the qualities they admire most because they finally recognize that emotional strength is not about never feeling pain. It is about refusing to let pain decide who you become. As these reflections continue, your soulmate has begun questioning what real success actually looks like. For so long, they measured success through visible accomplishments, recognition, or achievements others could easily celebrate. Now they understand that your greatest accomplishments were often invisible. They were the moments when you remained honest, while dishonesty offered easier rewards. They were the moments when you remained faithful to your values, despite receiving little recognition for doing so. They were the countless mornings you chose to move forward with hope, even when life felt uncertain. They were the evenings you quietly carried burdens no one else knew about, while still finding reasons to be grateful. These unseen victories have become far more meaningful to your soulmate than any external achievement because they reveal the true depth of your character. They understand now that the strongest foundations are rarely visible from the outside. They exist beneath the surface, quietly supporting everything built upon them. That is exactly what your strength has always been. It has quietly supported every act of kindness, every decision made with integrity, and every relationship touched by your genuine heart. And listen to this, because your soulmate is beginning to realize that the person who unexpectedly revealed your greatest strength did not give you something you never had. They simply uncovered what had been standing before everyone all along. The truth is that your strength was never hidden. It was simply expressed so quietly that only those willing to observe with patience could truly recognize it. Now your soulmate sees that every season of your life has been telling the same story. It is the story of someone who remained compassionate when life encouraged bitterness, someone who remained humble when pride would have been easier, someone who remained trustworthy when compromise seemed tempting, and someone who continued choosing goodness even when no one appeared to notice. That realization has transformed more than their opinion of you. It has reshaped the standards by which they now evaluate every person they meet. They have learned that authentic greatness is not found in loud declarations or temporary achievements. It is found in quiet consistency, unwavering integrity, and a heart that remains faithful to its values through every changing season of life. And now that they have finally seen that truth reflected in you, they know it is something they will never overlook again. And listen carefully, because your soulmate has now reached the point where admiration has turned into conviction. There was a time when they appreciated certain qualities about you without fully understanding where those qualities came from. They believed your patience was simply part of your personality. They assumed your calmness came naturally. They thought your kindness required very little effort because you made it appear so effortless. But now, after hearing someone reveal the truth about your greatest strength and after quietly reflecting on everything they have witnessed themselves, they understand something completely different. None of those qualities appeared by accident. They were built through countless unseen moments where life tested you, and you chose not to surrender the goodness within your heart. That realization has completely transformed the way they see you because they finally recognize that the strongest part of your character was never visible during life's easiest chapters. It revealed itself during the moments when no one knew how much you were carrying, when no one applauded your quiet perseverance, and when no one realized how many times you had to choose hope over discouragement. They now understand that strength is not measured by how loudly someone speaks about overcoming adversity. It is measured by the quiet decisions they continue making after adversity has already entered their life. Looking back now, your soulmate sees that every challenge became another opportunity for your character to grow, instead of your heart becoming smaller. Every disappointment refined your compassion instead of destroying it. Every setback strengthened your integrity instead of weakening your convictions. That truth has become impossible for them to ignore because it is reflected in every season of your journey. As these realizations continue deepening, your soulmate has begun asking themselves questions they never thought to ask before. They wonder how many times they stood beside your quiet strength without recognizing its value. They think about moments when they focused on what you had not achieved instead of appreciating the extraordinary person you were becoming. They remember situations where they admired louder personalities while overlooking the peaceful confidence you carried every day. At the time, they believed strength had to announce itself. They believed courage had to appear dramatic. They believed resilience had to be visible for it to matter. Today, they understand how incomplete that perspective truly was. They now recognize that the strongest people are often the ones who make life easier for everyone around them without expecting anything in return. They quietly absorb pressure instead of passing it on. They create peace instead of unnecessary conflict. They offer encouragement while privately searching for strength themselves. Looking back, your soulmate realizes that this has always described you. You never entered a room demanding recognition. You entered quietly, listened carefully, spoke thoughtfully, and left people feeling lighter than they were before. That influence was never loud enough to attract constant attention, yet it quietly changed lives in ways few people ever noticed. This realization has filled your soulmate with profound respect, because they finally understand that true greatness is often measured not by how many people admire you, but by how many people become better because your life touched theirs, because your heart needs this right now. Know that your soulmate has also begun recognizing something else that has deeply affected them. They now understand that your greatest strength was not simply surviving difficult seasons. It was remaining emotionally generous while living through them. They realized there were days when your own heart needed comfort, yet you still found ways to comfort someone else. There were moments when your own future felt uncertain, yet you continued speaking words of hope to those around you. There were times when disappointment quietly followed you, yet you refused to allow disappointment to become the language you spoke. That realization has become one of the most powerful lessons they have ever learned, because they finally understand that emotional generosity is one of the rarest forms of strength a person can possess. It is easy to give kindness when life feels rewarding. It is far more difficult to keep giving kindness when life is asking everything from you. Yet that is exactly what you continued doing. You protected your ability to love without allowing hardship to convince you that kindness was weakness. You protected your compassion without allowing pain to replace it with suspicion. Your soulmate now understands that these were not random personality traits. They were daily decisions requiring tremendous courage, discipline, and emotional maturity. Every time you chose understanding instead of judgment, every time you chose patience instead of frustration, and every time you chose peace instead of conflict, you revealed a strength that cannot be measured by appearances alone. Another realization has quietly taken hold of their heart as well. They are beginning to understand that your strength has never depended on circumstances beyond your control. Many people remain optimistic only while life is unfolding according to their plans. Many people remain kind only while they receive kindness in return. But your soulmate now sees that your values remained remarkably consistent regardless of what surrounded you. Whether people appreciated your efforts or ignored them, you continued giving your best. Whether someone understood your intentions or completely misunderstood them, you remained respectful. Whether life rewarded your faithfulness immediately or asked you to wait much longer than expected, you continued believing that living with integrity was worthwhile. This consistency has become one of the greatest sources of inspiration for your soulmate, because they realize that external success comes and goes, but inner character remains. The qualities they admire most about you were never dependent upon favorable circumstances. They came from a heart that had already decided what kind of person it wanted to be, long before life began testing those convictions. That understanding has reshaped the way they define strength itself. They no longer associate it with power, status, recognition, or achievement. They now associate it with the quiet courage required to remain faithful to your values, even when doing so offers no immediate reward. And listen to this. Because your soulmate has now reached a place where they can no longer separate your greatest strength from the person you have always been. They understand that your resilience, patience, humility, and unwavering integrity are not isolated qualities. Together, they form the foundation of a heart that has quietly influenced far more people than you will probably ever realize. The unexpected words that first opened their eyes have now become only a small part of a much greater revelation. Every memory they revisit, every conversation they remember, and every quiet act of kindness they witnessed now points toward the same undeniable conclusion. Your greatest strength was never hidden behind extraordinary achievements or dramatic moments. It was revealed through ordinary days, lived with extraordinary consistency. It appeared every time you chose character over convenience, every time you protected your peace without losing your compassion, every time you remained honest when compromise seemed easier, and every time you continued believing in goodness despite everything life placed before you. Your soulmate now sees this truth with complete clarity, and once a heart truly recognizes strength like yours, it cannot return to seeing only the surface. They understand that the most remarkable people are rarely those who demand attention. They are the ones whose quiet example continues changing hearts long after the conversation has ended. And they now know that your life has become exactly that kind of example, one that will remain with them, challenge them, and inspire them for years to come. And listen carefully, because after everything your soulmate has seen, heard, and reflected upon, one truth now rises above every other realization. They finally understand that your greatest strength was never something that could be measured by accomplishments, recognition, or the approval of other people. It was revealed by the person you remained when no one was watching. It was revealed in the quiet moments when life demanded more from you than you ever expected to give. Yet you still chose compassion instead of resentment, honesty instead of convenience, and hope instead of discouragement. Looking back now, your soulmate realizes they once admired visible qualities while overlooking the invisible foundation that made those qualities possible. They noticed your calmness, but not the discipline it required. They appreciated your kindness, but never fully understood how many disappointments you overcame before offering that kindness to someone else. They respected your patience without realizing how many silent battles had strengthened it over time. Today, every one of those overlooked details has become impossible to ignore. They now recognize that your greatest strength has never been found in extraordinary moments. It has always been quietly woven into the ordinary choices you made every single day. Those choices shaped your character, protected your heart, and created a life that spoke with greater honesty than words ever could. This realization has permanently changed the way your soulmate sees you, because they understand that true greatness is not built through a single defining moment. It is built through countless unseen decisions that remain faithful to goodness, regardless of circumstances. As these reflections continue, your soulmate has found themselves recognizing something even more meaningful. They understand that your strength has never been about proving anyone wrong. Throughout every season of misunderstanding, disappointment, or challenge, you never built your life around convincing others to recognize your value. Instead, you quietly continued becoming the kind of person your values called you to be. There were opportunities where you could have chosen bitterness, yet you chose forgiveness. There were moments when anger would have been understandable, yet you chose self-control. There were situations where compromise might have offered temporary comfort, yet you remained loyal to your principles. Looking back now, they see that every one of those decisions required a level of courage that few people ever appreciate, because it rarely attracts attention. Most people celebrate dramatic victories while overlooking the quiet victories taking place inside the human heart. Your soulmate now realizes that those invisible victories were the true story of your life. Every time you chose integrity over convenience, every time you chose peace over unnecessary conflict, and every time you chose kindness while carrying burdens no one else could see, you were revealing a strength that could never be taken away by changing circumstances. That understanding has filled them with admiration, because they finally see that your greatest success was never external. It was the remarkable consistency of your inner character, because your heart needs this right now. Know that your soulmate has also begun applying this lesson to their own life. They have stopped asking how people appear and started asking who they consistently become when life becomes difficult. Your journey has quietly taught them that genuine strength is not about avoiding pain. It is about refusing to allow pain to dictate your identity. They now understand that every challenge placed before you became another opportunity to protect the values that mattered most to you. Instead of allowing hardship to make you suspicious, you became more compassionate. Instead of allowing disappointment to close your heart, you continued believing that kindness was still worth choosing. Instead of allowing setbacks to convince you that integrity had no value, you continued living honestly, even when no immediate reward appeared. These lessons have become deeply personal for your soulmate because they realize they are witnessing something increasingly rare in today's world. They have discovered someone whose principles remain stronger than their circumstances. That discovery has challenged them to examine their own heart with greater honesty, encouraging them to build the same kind of inner stability they now admire so deeply within you. Another realization has quietly settled into their heart, and it may be the most powerful one of all. They now understand that your greatest strength was never meant only for your own journey. Every quiet decision you made became an example that influenced people without you ever realizing it. The patience you demonstrated taught others that gentleness is not weakness. The integrity you protected showed that honesty is still possible, even when compromise seems easier. The compassion you continued offering reminded people that difficult experiences do not have to erase a person's ability to love. Looking back now, your soulmate realizes that your influence reached far beyond what either of you ever imagined. It was never built through loud speeches or dramatic declarations. It was built through daily faithfulness to the values you refused to abandon. That is why your example has remained in their heart long after ordinary memories have faded. They now understand that authentic influence is never forced. It grows naturally from a life lived with sincerity, humility, and unwavering consistency. Every quiet act of goodness became another reminder that true strength is not about standing above others. It is about lifting others without expecting recognition in return. And listen to this, because this is where the entire journey finds its deepest meaning. The person who unexpectedly revealed your greatest strength did not create something new within you. They simply uncovered what had been present all along. What followed was not merely a change in your soulmate's opinion. It was a complete transformation in the way they understand strength, character, and genuine love. They no longer measure people by how loudly they speak, how confidently they present themselves, or how much recognition they receive. They measure people by the quiet consistency of their heart, by the integrity they protect when no one is watching, and by the compassion they continue showing even after life has tested them again and again. Through that new understanding, they finally see you with complete clarity. They see someone who remained gentle without becoming weak, resilient without becoming hardened, humble without doubting their worth, and faithful to their values through every changing season of life. That is the truth they can no longer ignore. Your greatest strength was never hidden because it was absent. It was hidden because it was expressed in the quiet language of character rather than the loud language of performance. Now that your soulmate has finally learned to recognize that language, they understand that the strongest hearts are rarely the ones seeking attention. They are the ones quietly transforming lives through the way they choose to live every single day. And when a truth like that is finally seen, it does not fade with time. It becomes a lasting reminder that the most extraordinary people are often those whose greatest victories are written not in applause or recognition, but in the unshakable goodness they carry within their heart no matter what life places before them.